Alright YouTube, so I was scouring the internet for some Fallout content and I came across an interview with Pete Hines. Well, it's actually a comicbook.com article about an interview Pete Hines did with Gamesradar, and the quote they pull from the interview is that Pete Hines says that the fans will not define what Bethesda does. So people were giving me shit in the last video because of the background. It said like I was in a rape dungeon or that I was in a prison. So I decided to hang something up for now. We haven't decided where the backdrop, where I'm actually going to be recording at in the room. So the only thing I could find that was big enough to cover the background was a skull and crossbones flag. It's pretty cringy if I'm honest with you guys, but other than that it'd be like flowery sheets and shit, and I ain't gay. So on to this article. Now, we're only going to be covering the comicbook.com article, but we'll have the Gamesradar interview linked down below if you care to go read it. Anyway, let's get into it. So the article is titled, Bethesda Hears Request for Elder Scrolls 6, but says fans won't define what we do. Fans have come to expect a lot from Bethesda thanks to their stellar RPGs, but even though many gamers have a clear idea of what they want from the company, Bethesda isn't one to be directed by the community's demands. From the Elder Scrolls to Fallout and every game in between, Bethesda has a long line of even longer games. Speaking to Gamesradar, Bethesda's Vice President of PR and Marketing, Pete Hines, commented on the fact that gamers often ask why Bethesda isn't working on such and such project whenever they announce a new game. Something that Hines said is common. Unless it's the exact thing that they're all asking for, then yeah, you're going to run into some amount of that, Hines said regarding consumer questions. We're aware of it, but we're not going to let it define what we do. The most obvious example of this that comes to mind when thinking of Bethesda is the Elder Scrolls 6, the next installment in the series after Skyrim. Technically, I want to branch off real quick. I know what they mean there, but technically ESO and Elder Scrolls Legends are Elder Scrolls games, and they came after Skyrim. Fans have been clamoring for the next game for some time now, but re-releases, mods, and a new survival mode are aspects that keep getting added into Skyrim instead of a continuation of the series. Hines and Bethesda are well aware of how badly the game is wanted, but they're focused on doing what's best for the games they're currently working on. So that little bit right there, and then the quote from Pete Hines saying that, they're not going to let the fans decide what they do, tells me that they really need to let another company come in and help them make their games. Whether it be Elder Scrolls or Fallout. I don't know if they've ever let anybody else make any of the Elder Scrolls games. Like I want to say somebody else made Elder Scrolls Online. Don't know about Legends. I think the numbered Elder Scrolls games have always been made by them. Could be wrong on that. But of course, Obsidian came in and made Fallout New Vegas. They could have a company come in, Obsidian or somebody else, and help them make a branch-off game to either Fallout or Elder Scrolls. If you look at New Vegas was never meant to be Fallout 4. It was always going to be a side project. It was meant to be Fallout 3.5. So they could do the exact same thing here. They could have somebody come in and make a branch-off Elder Scrolls games. There's all the different areas and things. There's so much to Elder Scrolls, so much to the world that we have not seen in the standalone games yet. We've seen a lot in ESO, and people would like to see some of those areas fleshed out into full-on games where everything takes place in that one area with quests, characters, and all that shit. And of course, the same can be said for the Fallout series. It has its own lore and a whole shit ton of locations we've never seen because there's the entire Earth that was affected by the nuclear apocalypse. But I'm just bringing up Elder Scrolls because that's actually what the article's about, is Elder Scrolls 6. But either way, they could have somebody come in and help them make a branch-off game to either the Elder Scrolls series or the Fallout series, and they can focus on whatever these other projects are. Of course, there's Prey, there's Wolfenstein, there's Doom, there's all these other games and new IPs that we don't even know about. So, they can have these companies come in, make these games, which will satiate the fans. Fans just want more Elder Scrolls and Fallout. It doesn't matter who the fuck's making it, honestly. And these days, as much as Bethesda's starting to get hated on, people probably want somebody else to make it instead of them anyways. Ultimately, we're going to try and do the things that we think are the best for the games that we're making, because that's honestly all I can really control. I've tried to help mitigate some of that. I went to Todd Howard, director of, I don't know what they're trying to, everybody knows who the fuck Todd is, a couple of E3s ago and said, everybody's going to ask us about the Elder Scrolls 6. You have to help me. You have to help me come out and say what the studio's path is and when the Elder Scrolls 6 is coming to try and manage expectations. That's a bit interesting there, because he said 3 E3s ago. This interview is from like 3 days ago, so it's pretty recent. So 3 E3s ago was their very first E3, E3 2015. I don't think anybody gave a shit about Elder Scrolls 6 at the time. We fucking knew that Fallout 4 was going to be E3. That was the big draw there. There's the whole reason you guys even did an E3 press conference in 2015. Don't get me wrong. If Elder Scrolls 6 was announced, everybody would have lost their shit as well. But nobody was expecting you to announce Elder Scrolls 6. We were there for Fallout 4. But to me, it is pretty cool to see that Pete Hines was aware of people wanting to know what's going on with the Elder Scrolls series. Because even in 2015, it had been what, like almost 4 years since Skyrim came out. So it's like, what the fuck's going on with the Elder Scrolls series? So he knew that people might be kind of interested in Elder Scrolls 6. So even back then, 3 years ago, he was asking Todd Howard, like, give me something, dude. Give me something that I can tell the fucking fans in case they ask about Elder Scrolls 6. So it's kind of cool to see that P. Hines, while the article is quoting him on saying something that's kind of, I think, kind of misconstrued and kind of bad because he says that the fans won't decide what we do. It's kind of cool to see that P. Hines is actually kind of on our side. Like, he wants to give us info. He knows that we're going to ask about it. And he doesn't want to kind of doesn't want us to get like pissed off or something. So he wants to give us as much information as possible. He just kind of can't. However, Hines reiterated the previous statement about fans' demands influencing developers by saying that Bethesda has to be able to stretch their legs every once in a while. The development teams aren't just a vending machine where you press for the soda and they just go back and forth. They want to be able to stretch their legs creatively or try a new idea or do something different and not just fall into the same pattern, said Hines. So I completely get what he's saying there. You know, he's trying to say that, like, just because fans want, like, Fallout or Elder Scrolls, they can't just stop what they're doing, stop the games they're creating, and just focus on those games only. Because, for starters, they have probably years planned out of games they're going to come out with, games they're developing and making and all that shit. And they can't just, you know, stop everything they're doing and just be like, let's just do an Elder Scrolls 6 because the fans want to. But the point is, there's such high demand for these games, because it's actually been a long time, especially for Elder Scrolls 6. Coming up on, you know, like a little over a month from now, Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim will be, 6 years old? It came out in 2011, like November 11th, 2011. It'll be 6 years old this year, and we've had fucking nothing for the next numbered entry. We've had, of course, Elder Scrolls Online and Elder Scrolls Legends, which that one doesn't even fucking count at all. But we've had, you know, those two games since then, but we've had nothing, and we've had re-releases of Skyrim. Like, that's all we've got. We've got no info. We don't know anything about Elder Scrolls 6, and according to them, they're not even developing it yet. Now I'm very skeptical if that's even fucking true. Like, obviously, I feel like they're doing something with it. I don't know if... They gotta have at least a script, if anything. Like, I don't know if they're actually building the game yet, but they gotta have a location in mind. Maybe even, like, kind of a story. Maybe even, like, some characters or, you know, something. They have something in mind for Elder Scrolls 6. Like, telling us that they're not even working on it at all is, like, the best way to, like, surprise us with inevitably a trailer or screenshots or maybe just an interview where they're just like, you know what? Yeah, Elder Scrolls 6 is being worked on. We'll drop a trailer in 6 months. You know, sometime next year we'll drop a trailer. Like, that would be a surprising thing. They're not just going to come out right and say, yeah, you know, we're working on these games, but in the background we're also doing Elder Scrolls 6. Like, there'd be no point doing that because everybody would be focused on that Elder Scrolls 6 info and not the games that they're actually coming out with right now. But these games are in such high demand, again, because of the length of time. It's been almost 6 years since Skyrim came out. That's why the fans are getting more and more demanding for what the hell is going on with Elder Scrolls 6. It makes me wonder if, like, the 7 years is, like, the goal now. Because, obviously, Fallout 4 didn't come out until 7 years after Fallout 3. And, you know, a year after, you know, a year and a month from now, it'll be 7 years since Skyrim came out. And I wonder if by then we might have some sort of info on Elder Scrolls 6. Like, if the Elder Scrolls games and the Fallout games start taking, you know, 7 or 8 plus years to make, I'm going to kind of be bored of this series. I cannot wait that long, especially with as much of a disappointment as Fallout 4 is. Like, I don't want to wait another 7 or 8 years for our Fallout 5. This is going to fucking suck. Anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts below on this, on Pete Hines saying that the fans will not decide what Bethesda is going to do. Obviously, he didn't mean it really in a derogatory way. He's not just saying, fuck the fans. The article, the comicbook.com article is really trying to, like, they're just taking pieces of the interview out and making it seem bad. It's really not that bad. Also, guys, I am working on, like, a backdrop situation. I don't want this fucking bullshit behind me all the damn time. I have, like, a shelf I can put behind me, kind of in a backdrop scenario. Gaming stuff I can put all over the shelf. I can hang stuff on the walls and all that crap. And have a decent background. This is just temporary until I figure that shit out. As always, guys, if you went on to enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Tell me pretty lies, look me in the face. Tell me that you love me, even if it's fake. 'Cause I don't fucking care.